Kayden's Law. It sounds like a good thing, right? A law designed to protect the most vulnerable among us, our children. It's named after a young girl whose life was tragically cut short. Named after Kayden Mancuso, a young girl tragically killed by her father during a custody dispute, the law promises to protect children. It aims to prevent such heartbreaking incidents from ever happening again. It was tucked into the Violence Against Women Act in 2022, a move that seemed to ensure its passage without much opposition. It seemed like a no-brainer. After all, who could be against protecting kids from violence? The idea was to create a safer environment for children caught in the crossfire of custody battles. But here's the thing, folks. Good intentions don't always make good laws. Sometimes the execution can be flawed, leading to unintended consequences. And Kayden's Law, while well-intentioned, has some serious flaws. These flaws could undermine the very protections it seeks to provide. Flaws that could actually end up hurting the very children it aims to protect. The law's broad strokes can sometimes miss the nuances of individual cases. See, the law wades into the murky waters of custody battles and domestic violence. It tries to address a real problem, the manipulation of custody arrangements by abusers. But it does so in a way that's about as subtle as a sledgehammer. This heavy-handed approach can lead to more harm than good, and that's where the trouble starts. The law pushes this idea that any claim of abuse, even without much evidence, should be treated as gospel. This can lead to false accusations being taken at face value. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't take abuse allegations seriously, we absolutely should. But, assuming every single claim is true without any real scrutiny, that's a recipe for disaster. It can lead to innocent parents being unfairly penalized. Moreover, the research studies the law is based upon are severely flawed and criticized by the research community. Experts argue that the data used to support the law is severely flawed and even fraudulent. The bill also prohibits courts from ordering reunification therapy for children who were alienated. This can prevent children from healing and rebuilding relationships with their estranged parents. Here's where things get really messy. The concept of parental alienation is a tangled web of established science, emotions, legalities, misinformation, and a deliberate public policy deception campaign to deny its existence. Kayden's Law dances around this thing called parental alienation. It's like a ghost that haunts the legal system, always present but never fully acknowledged. It never actually mentions it by name, but it basically tries to pretend it doesn't exist. This omission is not just a simple oversight, it's a deliberate act of ignoring a critical issue. Parental alienation is when one parent manipulates a child to turn against the other parent. This manipulation can be subtle or overt, but the damage it causes is profound. It's a form of child abuse, plain and simple. The emotional scars it leaves on a child can last a lifetime, affecting their relationships and mental health. But instead of recognizing this, the law just assumes that anyone raising concerns about it is just trying to deflect attention from their own abusive behavior. This assumption is dangerous and misguided. This is a massive problem. By dismissing parental alienation, the law ignores a very real form of child abuse. It's a blind spot in the legal system that needs urgent attention, and by doing so, it leaves kids vulnerable to further manipulation and trauma. These children are caught in a cycle of emotional turmoil that they cannot escape from on their own. It's like ignoring a fire alarm because you think it's just someone burning toast. The warning signs are there, but they are being dismissed as trivial. Sure, sometimes it might be nothing, but sometimes it's a raging inferno. The consequences of ignoring these signs can be catastrophic, and by the time you realize it, it might be too late. The damage is done, and the opportunity to intervene has passed, leaving a trail of emotional devastation. You know what else is concerning? Kayden's Law actively shuts out the very people who could help courts navigate these complex situations. Experts in parental alienation are completely sidelined. Judges aren't even allowed to receive training on the issue. So we've got a law that's supposed to protect children, but it's actively preventing judges from learning about a form of child abuse. Does that make sense to anyone? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Look, I get it. Custody cases are messy, emotions run high, but we can't let our emotions cloud our judgment. We need to be guided by facts, by evidence, and by the expertise of professionals who understand these complex dynamics. Ignoring the experts is like trying to perform surgery with a butter knife. Sure, you might get lucky, but chances are, you're going to do more harm than good. Now let's talk about those abuse allegations. They are serious matters that need careful consideration. Kayden's law makes it incredibly easy to make an allegation of domestic violence. This law was created with the intention of protecting victims, but it has some unintended consequences, and once an allegation is made, it's treated as fact, even without much evidence. This can lead to a presumption of guilt rather than innocence. This creates a dangerous situation where an accusation alone can be enough to severely limit a parent's access to their child. The emotional toll on families can be devastating, and in some cases, it can even lead to the complete termination of parental rights. Imagine losing your child based on an unverified claim. This isn't about saying that all abuse claims are false. They're not. Many are legitimate and need immediate attention. But it is about recognizing that false accusations do happen. These false claims can ruin lives and tear families apart, and when they do, they can have devastating consequences for families. The emotional and financial strain can be overwhelming. We need a system that takes all allegations seriously but also investigates them thoroughly. A balanced approach is essential, a system that relies on evidence, not just accusations. This ensures fairness and justice for everyone involved. Because the truth is, justice for children means protecting them from all forms of abuse, including parental alienation and false accusations of domestic violence. Every child deserves a safe and loving environment. We need to amend Kayden's law to correct its flaws and really protect children from all abuse. Only then can we ensure true justice and safety for our children.